Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of our podcast show. My name is Yasmin Qabbani, and I'm a member of an international initiative called Students Against COVID-19, where a group of students and allies from around the world with an aim to tackle the pandemic. Over 3.2 million cases and 230,000 deaths have been reported worldwide. There is a particular worry as to how the virus will impact developing countries where there are limited resources and a lack of testing facilities. Communities require all the support they can get, especially the elderly and those with underlying health conditions. Today's guest is Hassan Niazi from Pakistan, who's the head of finance for a student-run social welfare organization. This is an initiative running from Aga Khan University in Karachi to assess the vulnerable by distributing food. In addition, they have been supporting students with sponsorships as well as local businesses and community sources. Hassan, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're
Thank you
well.
so much for Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely excited for this interview.
Thank you so much. This is an incredible initiative you've started, and I'm sure our viewers are very interested to hear more about it. So, with everything out of the way, let's get started with our questions. Our first question.
Absolutely.
Okay, our first question is, what inspired you and your team to set up the initiative?
So, like I already mentioned, the Quadrigon basically is a social welfare organization, and most of the members and the administrative departments and the heads, we all had one passion, and that passion was to help mankind. And that was basically the main objective behind the creation of the organization in 2017. So about 7 weeks ago, when we were, continuing with our classes at the university, and we had the nationwide lockdown, and we had to come back to our homes. So we had a meeting where we had our president, our CEO, our heads, and we discussed the fact that how this lockdown and the coronavirus situation was basically going to affect the less fortunate people of our society, and what role could our organization and we as medical students and health in the field of medicine could help the people who were going to be affected by this lockdown and the coronavirus situation. So one of the very important ideas was raised, and that was to distribute food items to the people whose jobs would be affected, whose households would be affected by this situation. And that was basically the initiation of the whole national ration drive. And Alhamdulillah, we were able to get volunteers across the country, and we were able to execute our Russian drives, multiple Russian drives in more than 5 major cities of Pakistan. And in the past 7 weeks, we've been able to help over 125 families with Russians worth over 700,000 rupees. And so it all began with basically a passion to help the people of our society and to just do something rather than just sitting home. And yeah, that's basically how it all started.
Amazing. So, of course, yourself being the finance director, how do you ensure your role is done responsibly?
Yeah, so one very important thing with a Russian drive like this and an initiative like this is to make sure that we have the maximum outreach. And with limited number of resources, we are able to reach maximum number of families, maximum number of individuals. So in order to do that, me and my department, we work closely with our Department of Records and the Department of Audit, and we came up with a Russian drive package, which included items, the necessary items, and at the right prices. And we made sure that our volunteers, they got the items at the right prices, so we were able to reach maximum people. And another very important thing was to generate funds for this drive. And for that, my department worked closely with the media department, and we were able to reach out to the public and our donors through our social media platforms. And through there, we were able to generate, alhamdulillah, over 250,000 rupees in the past 6 weeks. And after the generation of funds, another very important thing that we take care of at our organization is that we record each and every donation and expenditure. So through our website, our donors can actually track their donations, and they can see how their donations are being spent. So that was one very important thing that we also focused on.
This is incredible. This is really incredible. So about my second question as well, schools all over the world have shut. So what has
Absolutely.
impact? Yeah, what has been the impact of school closure in Pakistan?
So Yeah, so when this whole situation of coronavirus began, one of the very first initiatives from the government was the closure of the education institution, and that included everything from universities to primary schools to colleges. And so the students, their education, obviously, it was thought that the education would take a serious hit and that it would be disrupted. But Alhamdulillah, our education experts and our teachers, they have come up with online resources for our education. And for the past 6 weeks, we've been having our online classes. We've been having, and now they're moving on to even having online exams because they think that our lockdown and the situation may progress. So they are taking appropriate measures to ensure that students are getting the right quality of education in this proper time of lockdown, and they're trying to engage themselves in their studies as well.
Perfect. So, what are the possible reasons for the increase in number of everyday cases in Pakistan?
Yeah, I think one of the very important reasons behind the increase in the number of cases, even though we've had all these measures in place, is because Pakistan being a country with a population of over 220 million individuals, it's obviously a very close-knit community. So you see a lot of people living very close to each other and interacting with each other on a daily basis. And you see that the majority of the cases are in the major cities of Pakistan, who have populations of over 15 million or even 20 million individuals. So that has obviously aided in the increase of the number of cases. And our health experts obviously took that into consideration, and our government came up with proper measures to control this. And another important thing was the lack of awareness regarding the spread of the coronavirus. And so that was a very important issue that we had in the starting weeks of the coronavirus. So, but the government has done an absolutely amazing job. We have had many initiatives in place all over the country. Students from the medical colleges, the health institutions, they're coming forward. They're trying to educate the masses, trying to spread awareness regarding the spread. And we have had and now, alhamdulillah, the situation is much better compared to the number of cases which we at the pace we were increasing before.
That's great. That's really great. So, what do you think? Like, how had the economic impact of the virus influenced the way you run your own organization?
So yeah, so this virus has basically impacted the economic growth all over the world. So it was not just one country; it has impacted globally the economic situation. And so at our organization, we have had about more than 250 donors who across the country, and most of our donors, they are students from my own institution, the Aga Khan University. So when we were at the Aga Khan University, we used to have monthly fund drives, and we used to collect funds from the students physically. But since we've had to come back home, we have had to switch to online media or our social media platforms in order to generate funds. But my department and the whole organization, they have been absolutely amazing, and they've been trying to cover all the obstacles that are coming in our way, and they're working really hard to take care of the fact that we are able to help the people like we have been helping the people before, and we are doing as much as we can to not let this entire situation of the lockdown and the coronavirus affect us that much in reaching out to the people of our general public.
This is really inspiring, Wallah. So, how are you coordinating delivery efforts with volunteers in the community right now?
So this is probably the most important thing when it comes to the distribution of rations, because we have had the ration drive in major cities of Pakistan. So the most important thing was to coordinate the efforts with our volunteers in order to ensure that the food items are carefully delivered to the families, and they're delivered from the retailers to our volunteers. So in order to do that, our records department, our campaigns department, they have been absolutely brilliant. They have been in constant communication with our volunteers. They have been in constant communication with our suppliers, making sure that our volunteers get the food items on time in the proper quantities, and then they have the proper transport to distribute them to the societies. And obviously we've had this situation of coronavirus, so they had to make sure that the volunteers, they protected themselves against this coronavirus. And a lot of the activities that we've been doing, I think because of the coronavirus, we have had a lot of communication between our departments to ensure that everything goes smoothly.
Great. So that will lead me to the other question. And next question is, what safety measures should food providers take when supplying rations to the needy?
So basically, in normal circumstances, the most important thing to take care of would be the safe food delivery, safe food packing, receiving, and distribution. But with the increased circumstances of the whole coronavirus situation, we have had to be extra cautious when it came to getting the food items, handling the food items with care, and making sure that they're not exposed to the coronavirus itself. And we have had to pack them properly in bags and then ensure that they were properly distributed to the families. So for that, we had meetings, constant meetings with our volunteers who were in charge of distributing the rations, and we basically gave them a sort of a workshop regarding the fact that how they were supposed to handle the food items, how they were supposed to pack the items, where they should keep the items so that they're not affected by the environmental conditions. And so all these measures were taken in order to make sure that we deliver safe food products to our families so we can help them in this time of need.
Great. This is really great. So, how has the month of Ramadan affected the way your program runs?
Normally, since the beginning in the 2017, throughout the month of Ramadan, we have had our iftar drives, and in the recent years, we were able to reach out to more than 2,000 people in the month of Ramadan with our iftar drive. So when we've had to come back home, we had to make a choice between doing a ration drive for the people or should we continue with the iftar drive. And so we basically went with the fact that we should do both of them. So for the past 6 weeks, we have had our ration drive through which we reached out to more than 135 families. And since the beginning of Ramadan, we started our iftar drive, which has been started in Karachi and will continue in the other major cities like Lahore and Peshawar and Multan. So in Karachi alone, we were able to reach out to more than 35 families with iftar items and rations, and this drive will inshallah continue forward into the month of Ramadan with our volunteers distributing iftar rations to people in the rest of the major cities.
This is so inspiring to have this ability to major two things in one. So,
Yeah.
has the program right now, like, has there's kind of do you have you faced any major difficulties and any kind of them?
Yeah, I would say that the one difficulty that we did face was to maintain communication, because obviously we were doing this on a very large scale. It was being done in multiple cities. It is being done in multiple cities. And I think one of the most important things we've had to ensure is that we have proper communication. So when we were at our university, we were able to conduct meetings. We were able to physically meet our heads, our admins, our CEO, our president. But with the whole situation of the coronavirus, we have had to shift to online media platforms like WhatsApp groups and Microsoft Teams, and our meetings have been online. But yeah, but I think, but the people, our heads, basically, our heads of the departments, they have been absolutely brilliant. They have been working day and night to make sure that they are in touch with their own department members and that they are collaborating with other department heads to ensure that all of the things they run smoothly.
That's really great. So, how successful has the initiative been in helping the community? Like, after all these, you said you've been like this is the major difficulty. So, how successful the initiative been helping in the community right now?
Yeah, so our impact assessment department has also been very active throughout this whole process, and they basically ensure to see that how our entire program is helping the people, how many people it's reaching out to, is it being effective, can we do this in the future as well, can we progress. So the feedbacks that we basically got from our volunteers who distributed food items to the families, that was absolutely positive. The volunteers, they loved it, distributing the food, and to get a positive feedback from the families who were absolutely thrilled to get those rations, and our volunteers then gave the feedback to us, and it was really inspiring for us as well that we have been able to do something in the community that was able to help the people in this time of need. So with the aspect of reaching out, as I already mentioned, we've been able to reach out to more than 135 families with our ration drive, another additional 35 families with our iftar drive. We've been able to serve more than 4,500 meals. And so, yeah, I think in terms of getting reach to the community, we have done a good job, and we are basically continuing with our efforts. And another very important thing has been the awareness regarding the coronavirus. So we asked our volunteers that when they would approach the families, they would actually educate them regarding safety measures to protect themselves from the whole situation of coronavirus. So that was another initiative that was we ran with the food drive. So we had to spread awareness regarding this coronavirus alongside our Russian drive to make sure that we are tackling this problem of coronavirus in the country properly.
It's like inclusive measurement of all
Yeah,
things.
exactly. exactly.
It's really inspiring.
Yeah.
So this will lead me to my last question. So is there a message you would like to send to the audience regarding how to combat the virus? I know you already said that you're spreading awareness throughout your campaign, but would you like to send a message to the audience about this, how to combat the virus?
Yeah. So like I already mentioned, that most of the medical students throughout the country, not just my organization or students from my university, students from all over Pakistan in the medical colleges and health sciences, they started this initiative of trying to reach out to people regarding the awareness. So I think a very important thing that we as students can do is to get the proper information regarding the spread of coronavirus, how we can ensure that it does not spread in the community fast enough, and then we can relay that information to the people who do not have access to all these resources that we as students do. So I think we have a very major role to play in this whole situation of the coronavirus. And even though we are in a lockdown, that does not mean that we cannot reach out to the communities and to the people and help them combat this whole situation of the coronavirus. And I think I think by doing that, we can actually help our governments, and overall globally, we can help the humanity in tackling this whole situation of coronavirus and hopefully bringing down the number of cases and moving to a positive future.
Inshallah, we'll be able to do that.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for this interview. This pandemic has created a dangerous and unsafe situation for every social layer. People in need vary, from the ones who cannot get their own food because of their critical health condition to the ones unable to get by due to the loss of their daily income. Projects like the one led by Hassan Niazi are giving hope to those most vulnerable in the current atrocious situation. Students Against COVID is doing its best to promote this kind of initiative to assist the greatest number of people possible. I would really like to thank you once again, Hassan Niazi, for sparing some time for us today, despite your tight schedule, I know. We are really glad to have you here and wish you all the best and all the luck with your project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Stay safe and stay healthy.